Good afternoon. It's March the 10th, 2021. Welcome to episode 19 of Getting Back to Conversation. Last night, our men's small group began a new book entitled Ars Vitae, which is Latin for The Art of Living. The author is historian Elizabeth Lash Quinn. In the introduction to the book, she talks about the fragmentation of American thought and culture. And here is what she writes. The U.S. has become increasingly polarized as both politics and markets encourage aggressive self-assertion. We drift somewhere between polarization, which presumes some basis of coherence within enclaves, even if those enclaves become increasingly opposed, and total social dissolution. In this crisis of meaning, extremes win out, demagogues arise, and impatience and frustration devolve into the politics of resentment. This is fertile territory for Manichaeanism, the us-them mentality that depicts every disagreement or conflict as part of a cosmic drama between good and evil. In place of heroism, we have demonization, even if the now demon-like heroes claim to serve the right side. Now, I want to focus on one statement there that she makes, and that is the us-them mentality that depicts every disagreement or conflict as part of a cosmic drama between good and evil. Now, I think this is a fitting introduction to today's episode. First, I want to acknowledge that I came across the story that I'm going to be talking about today because of some friends, Bobby and Eugene Kiesbach, who used to live here in the Philly area, but have moved to Phoenix to be near family. They know that I'm from Prescott, and they came across this story in the Arizona Republic and passed it along to me, and we actually spent some time chatting about it. So thanks, Bobby and Eugene, for sharing this with me. I thought it was excellent in portraying some of the things that I've been talking about in some of these videos. Second, I want to acknowledge the helpful assistance of the story's author, John Deanna. John and I chatted over the phone in February, and we had a chance to compare notes about Arizona and about my hometown, Prescott. Now to the story itself. Now, before I dive into the story, I want to ask you to strap in for the duration of this video. I have attempted to be less confrontational in these videos. I am a 9 on the Enneagram, and I don't enjoy conflict or confrontation. But I think today I might be perceived by some of you as being confrontational, and some of you might take offense at some of the things that I say. I'd like to ask you to hear me out and to focus on the points I'm trying to make. Don't get hung up on some of the details in this story that might serve as trigger points. Okay, so here we go. It was Wednesday, September the 2nd, 2020. Nia Jones, an 18-year-old girl, the daughter of a white father and a black mother, posted a flyer on Instagram announcing a Black Lives Matter demonstration on the Courthouse Plaza for Friday at 3 p.m. Now, we need to pause right there. I put 3 words together: Black Lives Matter. 5 years ago, that would have been inconsequential. It would not have raised any concern on the part of anyone. But in this day of hashtags and memes, it does cause controversy. For some of you, your ears perked up for one reason. For others of you, your ears perked up for another reason. In this social media space that we live in, phrases, memes, words take on much weight and power. Black Lives Matter, Me Too, cancel culture, Antifa, and from our December the 7th episode, Karen. Hashtags and memes are what I would like to say are shorthand that lead to shortcuts that lead to short circuits. What happens? Well, when a person uses a hashtag or a meme, it's a shortcut. It's an effective communication tool. It's a way to condense down a lot of different things, beliefs, attitudes, values, into just a word or two or three. It also effectively serves as a way of attracting an audience. So it's very efficient, very useful. But I think thirdly, what happens is shortcuts lead to short circuits. Now, let me illustrate what I mean by that. A handful of websites came across Naya's posting, and they reposted her call for a demonstration with a warning and a call to action. According to the Deanna story, here is what was written on one of those websites. Quote, "We cannot," and cannot was all in caps, "we cannot let these Marxist, liberal, Democrat, rioting terrorists destroy our little town." End of quote. What has happened here? The author of this call to action, saw this flyer and assumed that the person who posted it, Naya Jones, was just like the individuals who had occupied Portland, Oregon. I doubt very seriously that the author of the website post had ever met Naya or spent any time talking to her. Remember, I began this episode by talking about enclaves, or as some people would like to refer to, echo chambers. And what happens in enclaves or echo chambers? We have people like us talking amongst ourselves, and it's very easy for frenzy to develop. Well, what happened? Naya Jones and two of her friends arrived at the courthouse plaza at 2:30 that afternoon, the afternoon of September the 4th, and found themselves on the courthouse plaza with about 100 counter-demonstrators. By the time 3 o'clock rolled around, the announced time for the beginning of the protest, there were 20 to 30 people in Naya Jones' group carrying posters and signs. But on the other side, there were 300 counter-protesters, a number of them carrying sidearms and long guns, and at least one carrying an aluminum ball bat. There was a shouting and yelling. After about 10 minutes, Naya Jones and her fellow protesters moved across the street and then walked to a local college campus. Now, I realize I've left the story relatively incomplete, but I wanted to use this to focus on 2 points. First of all, hashtags and memes. They are the stuff of social media. But my argument would be that they are not helpful as communication devices to foster conversation. Perhaps connection, but not conversation. They are shortcuts that lead to short circuits. Secondly, those short circuits lead to confrontation, shouting, and yelling, but not to dialogue or conversation. Now, I'd love to hear your comments. I hope that you found this to be helpful. I hope that you'll share it with others. I'd love to hear your comments below, but perhaps the best way that we can carry on this conversation is for you to reach out to me via Facebook Messenger, and let's set up a time to chat in longer form. I'd love to hear what you have to say. I'd love to have that conversation, because those are the kinds of conversations that can be helpful in fostering civil dialogue and discourse. Have I angered you or offended you? It was not my intention. But if I have, I'd love to hear it from you, and I'd love so that we can carry on and de-escalate. I hope you found this helpful. I hope that we can stay in conversation. We have so much to talk about. Please share this with others, and I'd love to hear from you, because we need to talk. We need to stay in conversation.